All right, you guys ready?
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
All right, we're going here. Callum, Matt, thanks for jumping on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So essentially, yeah, I'm excited to have you guys here because every time I'm around my friends, KINDUCT gets brought up, and a lot of people think to know what you guys do, and a lot of people like to pretend that they're experts, but I don't really believe them. So that's why I kind of wanted to have you guys here. And
yeah,
you guys are in the same kind of field that I'm in, talk to athletes, work with athletes, but you guys are obviously on, I guess, the science end of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, like I would say like the data or the high performance side of things.
Yeah. So you like doing that? Or how long have you guys been? How long have you guys been there for?
I've been at KINDUCT for like coming on 4 years probably.
What about you, Matt?
And I'm coming up on 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah. So Matt Warburton actually got me the job at KINDUCT.
Okay.
And then when we had an office in Pier 21. And Matt English was just like randomly in the building. I was like, do you want to maybe interview for this position?
Yeah.
And yeah, the rest is history. So we've been working together for 3 years now.
Where's the office based out of now? Is it still down there?
Purdy's Wharf.
Purdy's Wharf?
Yeah.
So what were you doing down there that day?
I was doing after I graduated from Dal, I took an entrepreneurship kind of product development boot camp. So it was like 6 weeks long.
Yeah.
So we were down in the Marginal Road kind of area. And I was in the bathroom and bumped into Callum. He was like, yo, you should give me your resume. We're hiring. And I was like, absolutely.
Did you know of KINDUCT before?
I knew of them, but like I didn't same as you. Like I didn't know exactly what they did. I just knew that they worked with pro sports. And so I was like, I'm in, whatever it is.
So like as soon as you got the job, what are some of like the first things that you learned right away? Like right off the bat, or are you still learning?
Yeah. You're just thrown into the fire right away.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was like, honestly, I think it was like probably like 3 or 4 months in. And then I was like speaking with the St. Louis Blues. I was just like, this is kind of crazy. I don't feel qualified to be doing this for one, but for two, it's, it just happened quick. So it's good now.
As soon as you got the job and you realized that you'd be talking to these franchises and athletes, is there a party that was just like a little nervous, a little underqualified? Like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I mean, like, luckily, like I was working with hockey teams. So like, I could kind of fake it a little bit, like, cause I played, but, I'm not a sports, scientist by any means. So it was just trying to make sure that I didn't sound too stupid the first few phone calls that I was with those guys.
That's sick.
Yeah.
What do you guys?
You get desensitized to it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now it's
They're
not
just normal. Everyone's just a normal person.
Yeah.
So what's the best part about working with athletes then?
So we don't really work with the athletes that much.
Okay.
We would work with primarily like their head strength conditioning coach, their athletic trainer. A lot of teams now have a position called like head of high performance or performance director.
Yeah.
So those would be the people that we're working with, and we'd come in contact with the athletes from time to time, but we're definitely not, texting Sidney Crosby or anything like that. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, still, you guys are in the room with some of the biggest organizations in North America. That's a big stepping stone for your company. How old are you guys?
I'm 26.
No, not like the company. I mean,
the company is. I think we've been doing like athlete management systems. For about 5 years.
Okay.
So it all started, I think, probably about 10 years ago with Travis McDonough, who is our he's the founder, obviously the founder and the current CEO. But he's done a ton of stuff, right? So he's Alexa McDonough's son. Alexa McDonough was the former NDP leader.
Okay. I was going to say the name sounded familiar.
Yeah. So right after he graduated, I think he was in Dal or he was doing something in chiropractic. He got his chiropractic degree.
Okay.
And then he left to Ireland.
Yeah.
And just like literally flew to Ireland, got out of the airport, got in a cab and asked like, where should I go? And the cab driver drove him to this like tiny like village in Ireland.
County Clare.
County Clare. Yeah. So he opened a chiropractic clinic there. And that was back when Irish people were still kind of doing like the bone setter mentality. So are you familiar with what bone setter is?
What does that mean?
So it's kind of like a little folklore, like old school medicine.
Witchcraft.
Yeah.
Okay. Not
so
regulated.
If you're the seventh son of a seventh son, so if your dad was the seventh son of somebody, you're the seventh son of your dad, then you are basically qualified to be the bone setter, the town's bone setter. So that means like if you were to like break a leg or like dislocate a shoulder, you call the bone setter. and the bone setter sets your bones back in your body.
And like we're
right?
talking like what, like 10, 15 years ago, this was happening in like rural Ireland still.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. So like the bone setter also does all the veterinary stuff. So if you have a horse that, you know, steps in a gopher hole or something like that, and the bone setter comes and basically yanks the limb around,
pretends like they know what they're doing.
Oh, they could be showing up hammered, but they're the bone setter, so they've got like a magical kind of touch, right?
Is this only in Ireland?
It would be like, I don't know. I know it's popular in Ireland, but it would also be popular in other places like Africa and like it was before, you know, modern medicine, obviously. So he started working with the hurling company or team in town, and the guys like who are used to like, you know, dislocating their shoulder or whatever and dealing with the bone setter, now dealing with Travis, who actually knows what he's doing, and they're like, oh, this is way better than this drunk dude like yanking my arm around. So he opened a chiropractic clinic. All these hurling guys started going to him, and eventually that kind of bloomed into a substantial I guess like
I think he had like 40 practices or something at one point. Like, so
wow.
So he sold that, came back to Canada, and then started KINDUCT.
And then even when he started at KINDUCT, I think they started like with like 3D medical animation. So like a 3D video of like an injury of what's happening inside the body. That's how it kind of started. He was just saying, you know, if you can engage your patients basically and get them to understand what happened to their body, they're more likely to follow through with the rehab that they're doing. So that was kind of like where that started. And then you just kind of continue. He was like continually seeing the need for the ability to be able to collect data and then integrate technology as that started exploding, and it just kind of snowballed into what we call an athlete management system now.
So what's the pitch when you go talk to these organizations? Obviously you have successful clients in the past that have benefited from it. When you go into these rooms, do you have like a PowerPoint? Do you have like a movie, like a show like that's what's the pitch for these guys?
I mean, every pitch would be different. I think like when you are trying to, like, if you're at like a trade show and you're trying to explain like what KINDUCT is, or if I were to explain to, you know, somebody
or
what
me,
KINDUCT is, we're basically like an online platform. Every team gets their own like KINDUCT platform. And all these teams are collecting so much information on their athletes. So they've got athletes wearing like a heart rate monitor on their wrist. They've got like a GPS unit, like almost like a sports bra. They've got these like fancy weight scales that are collecting information. They've got like sleep monitors and all this stuff, right? So you're collecting like, you've got like 7 different sources of data for your athlete. But if you want to start looking at it, then you have to go into like this GPS site or this heart rate site or platform or this, DEXA, like all this stuff, right? So what KINDUCT does is we basically suck all that information into one platform, so that a coach can now look at, okay, this is their total distance ran over the last, week compared to their heart rate and their sleep quality, and how is their stats being affected by that, and like, is the range of motion an issue? So we allow them to basically look at all that information in real time, or not real time, but aggregated all in one location, rather than them having to go to all these different spots. So we replace, Excel files and writing stuff down on paper and stuff like that. We also have a strength conditioning program in the platform where the coach could, collect the information, analyze the information in our reporting, and then build a program based off that.
For the one player.
Yeah. So
for like each individual player on the team.
Yeah. Most teams would be doing individualized programs for every one of their athletes.
Could you imagine having that back when we played? Could you imagine? I'm sure it's a lot more expensive than what we could afford, but that's incredible.
Yeah. It's just so individualized now, and I mean, I think that's a big part of like the value that we provide too, is that we, if you're doing an individualized program for every single player, that takes a long time. So if there's ways that you can speed that up, and rather than having to check 8 different softwares to figure out what's going on, they just go into one spot. And then the other part is obviously that it's all, it is private data, so you have to make sure that only the right people can view it. So we have like a permission-based authentication to make sure that only the certain coaches are seeing certain metrics on players that they're supposed to see.
So hypothetical, let's say you guys are in Boston, you guys are at Fenway, and you're watching a practice of the Red Sox, and you have 2 clients on the team, the catcher and the shortstop. do you guys watch the catcher and the shortstop, or have these bands on, and then after practice you take the data? Like, how does that actually work when you go to these organizations?
So our clients wouldn't be the individual athletes.
Okay.
Maybe if we were dealing with like a golfer or like a tennis player who like more individual sports.
Oh, yeah,
then
sorry, you said the athletic coordinator. Sorry.
Yeah. So like after the practice, after the Red Sox get off the field or whatever, all that information would have been collected from like they use something called Zephyr in baseball in game.
Zephyr.
So all that stuff would actually just go into the cloud, right? All that data would just go up into their platform, and then KINDUCT would basically pull it all down, and then the coach would go in, pull up their KINDUCT reports, right? View that information, like the whole team or each individual athlete.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where are some of the sickest places you guys have been, or like some of the cool organizations you guys have been to?
I lucked out. I mean, I've been to the LA Kings organization.
The practice facility
went
there?
to their practice facility there. Been to Boston a few times in both their rinks. Where else have I mean, we went down to New Orleans, which was pretty cool that's just a cool city to go to.
For the Saints? New Orleans Saints?
That one was actually just for a conference. I was just down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for that one. Trying to think, what other teams do?
I deal primarily with baseball.
That's
so sick. And I've been here for the longest, so I've gone to, like I've been to Milwaukee more times than you can count.
Why Milwaukee?
We have a client up there.
Okay.
So but we were just in San Jose, like San Antonio, obviously Arizona and Florida go to often.
Yeah.
Just because like I'll be going there in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that's when spring training starts. So you get to hit like all of your clients in one area.
That's fun.
So we'll go to Florida, kind of do like that West Coast.
Yeah.
And then fly to Arizona. It's nice in Phoenix because all the teams are so close together. So you can just stay like in Scottsdale and then just rip around the whole town and visit all those different spring training facilities. But the most impressive facility I've been to is probably Sporting KC's.
Where's that?
Kansas City. Yeah. So they had this brand new facility that they opened up, and it was just mind blowing. Yeah. Yeah.
What's so mind blowing about it? Like, they got a cafeteria in there?
They just thought of everything. Like when they designed it, like even when the athlete gets off the field, there's a place where they can kind of like punch in like how hard was that practice, hang up their jerseys, like take 2 more steps, there's their towel, right? Take a couple more steps to go around a corner, you're in the showers, get out of the showers, you like it's all thought out. It's almost like herding cattle in a sense. And then there's like that scale, and then they get into the like meals, like there's a bunch of snack, like it's insane. They have these wicked pools. Their like player like room is unbelievable. It's got like all these Xboxes and ping pong tables and TVs and chefs on site that are just cooking up meals.
And it's sweet too, because like usually the staff that you go to meet, like they want to show you around the facility.
Of course,
because it's like top notch, right?
Yeah.
Like that's their baby, that's their home. So I was down in Chicago, which is probably my favorite city I've ever been to.
Okay, never been.
We were down there for the NBA Combine, so just like watching like 7'10" freaks walk by you. But
how many years ago was this?
This was this past summer.
Okay.
Yeah. So went down there, and then we met with the Blackhawks while we were down there too, which was pretty cool. And we had a cool kind of Nova Scotia connection because Al McIsaac is their senior VP of hockey operations.
Okay.
And his old man, Don McIsaac.
Yeah.
You would probably remember this. Don McIsaac had an award in Major Midget, in Nova Scotia Major Midget. It was like the Don McIsaac Leadership.
It does ring a bell.
Yeah. Anyways, and funny story is that I won that in Midget. So like that was my talking point when I met him.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, that was my in.
That's a good icebreaker.
Yeah,
I won your award.
It was perfect. Yeah. Yeah. 1-year-old man's award. So
Doesn't Bowman, what's Bowman up there? Stan Bowman.
Yeah.
He's the GM?
Yeah.
And he went to X.
Did he?
I thought so. I thought him and Jerry D went to X together or something like that. And they were buddies.
Yeah. I don't know.
I could be wrong. Anyways, when you're talking to these athletic trainers of these organizations, what do they say some of their biggest challenges are with the athletes? Because when I think of athletes that are professional athletes, I think of like a whole variety of people. I think of people with big egos that don't want to work out. I think of people that, are just naturally gifted, so they fuck off in the gym, things like that. So what are some things that these trainers have. Oh, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's athletes that love what they do and that they go hard, don't get me wrong, but I feel there's two different types of professional athletes. 100%. What do you guys think?
Like, and that's, you're right. There's people that really take rehab seriously. So they care about their numbers. They care about the program that's assigned to them.
Yeah.
And then there's players where you have to like convince them to do something, right? So I think it's not really the sports that are different. It's the organizations that you'd see some differences in, where you have cultures where athletes might like go out of the organization to seek medical advice. So that's one thing that MLB teams are always really cognizant of, and always trying to kind of keep that in-house, so that players in specifically 40-man roster players. So like once you're in the big leagues, you basically have all these insane rights that you never had as a minor league player, right? So you can start, kind of pushing your way around and saying yes and no to certain things, right? If you're a minor league guy and somebody tells you to strap on the Catapult GPS device, you don't really have a choice. If you're a 40-man guy, then you can say no, right? So you have to do a little bit more convincing. Like we're trying to collect this data to make you better, right? Yeah. You have a lot of people, like older players, who don't really want that data to be collected on them because they just assume that it's going to be used in arbitration against them.
That's true,
right? So the athletic trainer has to really do a good job of or athletic trainer and strength conditioning coach, the performance staff in general, have to do a good job of convincing that athlete that it's going to make them better, and we're not going to hold it against you.
And that's a big part of what the players associations are working on right now too, is like each league, like I think the MLB might be the only one where they like opt in and out of, like, I know, like
where
the
data
sources,
rights.
Like,
MLB is super far ahead.
they're
as far as data rights. So
because of the steroid use.
No, just their PA, their Players Association, and the league work really closely together. So they've been able to put together like a really good CBA for their athletes.
Yeah.
Where like if you're a 40-man player, you can you can sign a consent form like, I want this collected on me, I don't want that collected on me, and I don't want these people to see it. If you want your data like out of KINDUCT, then you can just snap your fingers and we have to take it out, no questions asked, right? So if I'm going into arbitration, it's like, no, out, right? So I can take it out, and you've got a lot of rights in that
which
sense.
is like, like I said, the MLB is like a little bit more advanced in that right now. Like the NHL is not there yet.
Why isn't the NHL there yet?
They're just slower to innovate and slower to...
Yeah.
I mean, like now, the next year, you guys have probably heard, but obviously they're doing like the player and puck tracking. Well, they're actually starting it with a few teams this season. So they're doing like camera, like vision tracking basically of the players and an RFID chip essentially inside of a puck now for next season. And they've started it with a few teams for the second half of the year.
It's crazy. It looks like,
it's insane. It's like a video game.
Like
it's like you're playing a video game.
Right?
Wait a second.
So you're tracking like how fast players are moving. It's like how hard did they shoot? How hard was that pass? How much time did they have with possession of the puck? Like, what was their efficiency scores? All this kind of stuff is like what can be brought from like what we call XY data. Yeah. So it's just movement data, like on the ice. Like if you think like,
so in-game pucks are going to have these chips in them.
Yeah. So, and the
players will be tracked.
And the players will be tracked as well. And so that's where we see like, the players associations are now saying, okay, like this is real. Like like in the NBA, they've been doing this for years. Like they have vision,
really?
They have cameras in all 30 something arenas in the NBA tracking players and how hard they're working essentially in a game.
And it changed the game.
Measures.
For the NBA.
It changed it completely. So, like that same change is going to come to the NHL, and it's happening pretty soon. And I think what's also really exciting and is like the whole sports betting landscape is changing, and that's going to be a big part of it too.
That's true. People can bank on that.
Yeah.
Is this information going to be open to the public?
No, not initially anyways.
You're not going to be able to like pull it down in like an Excel file or anything like that, but they're gonna have it on like the broadcast, and whatnot. So how in MLB games you'll see like how far the baseball went on a home run, stuff like that, and it like tracks it and all that stuff. Like you're gonna see similar things like in between plays, like a replay of Shea Weber's slap shot and like how fast it was actually going, like,
and have the angle of where it's going from a stick,
100%, like spin rates on it, like all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have been able to get with just a radar camera.
And like that's cool for broadcasting purposes, but like imagine like prop bets, like in-game prop betting, right? Like it used to be like, you know, is Ovechkin going to score more points than Crosby tonight? And that's what you would bet on. You'd have to parlay that with a game. And now that it's going to be, you can do individual prop bets now, like, or soon, in most states. So you'll be able to basically, it'll change from being, is Ovi going to score the next goal to, is Ovi's next shot going to be over 60 miles an hour, right? Like it's going to change like what you can bet on completely. So,
and like, you're going to know how far players are traveling as well. So you can like, how far is Sidney Crosby going to skate on this shift, right?
Yeah.
In playoffs, how does that compare to what it's like in the regular season? Yeah. Right. You're going to be able to derive metrics.
Everything.
Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome.
That's going to change everything.
Yeah. And I mean, the league's already changing like pretty significantly. You can just see the skill in the league now, and like the age, everybody's younger and faster and smaller.
Oh yeah.
You know,
quicker.
some of the best players are just small, quick, super skilled guys.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, you know, the player puck tracking stuff's probably just going to highlight the fact that that's the kind of player that you need on your roster, not a big, you know, 240-pound player anymore.
That's another thing that it will do that I didn't even think of. It'll be great for GMs to assemble teams. Like if you, what was the movie there, Moneyball? What's his name, the GM?
Yeah.
Billy Bean.
Billy Bean.
Yeah.
It'll be great for guys like that. I'm sure baseball has changed since whenever that happened, the statistical side of baseball, but I feel like it's going to come to more into play with hockey and basketball. That's what I'm just thinking, top of my head.
Well, like look what it did for basketball, right? Once they introduced that player tracking technology, then they were able to really assess, like, are we getting good efficiency for these shots? So GM started looking at all that player movement data and saying, like, we're taking all these kind of like deep two shots, right?
Yeah.
So like just within that 3-point line, like this is how many we're actually taking.
Yeah.
If a player takes a step backwards, right?
Yeah.
And then you have basically the same percentage of the shot going in, but, you know, one more point. Then like, why aren't we taking never take the long two, sorry. The long two is like the worst shot in basketball, and they found that out through all that player tracking. So now you see, you know, James Harden putting up like 51 points a game. Obviously you saw Steph Curry like a couple seasons ago just go absolutely insane. All these threes, like the game of basketball is completely different.
And you think that is due to your guys' technology? Well, like
not our technology,
but you know what I mean.
But because of that player tracking technology, or at least innovations in technology in sports. And you can Google it. Like Dave Morey from the Houston Rockets has a lot of good like YouTube stuff explaining kind of like those concepts.
And we should probably mention too, it's like we say like GMs are like taking that information. It's like these are actually people that probably went to school at like MIT and did like computer vision and stuff, and they're the ones that are like figuring this stuff out and giving the information to the GM to use how they want to use it. But yeah, it's like it's been driven by some really, really smart people.
You know, in the NHL, how when they go back to the bench and they look at the camera behind like the coach's foot, the iPad. I'm just thinking about that. Like, you know, Sid goes on a 2-on-1, he shoots, he misses wide. He's able to see how far wide he was, where he missed. Because in a professional athlete's head, you're in complete control of your body, stick, and puck. For a guy like Sid, or just for any guy that knows how to play the game of hockey, like it's just
that instant video replay is huge for athletes. Like you'll see like somebody throw a pick in the NFL, and the first thing they do is go to their quarterback coach and watch the tape.
From every angle.
And
that's insane.
It's interesting you brought that up, because there was actually an article that just came out that SAP and Apple are working together on that iPad project in the NHL. So they introduced it 2 years ago. And then next season, they're going to be kind of bringing in like real-time statistics from the player and puck tracking stuff, so that like coaches can see like face-off efficiency or time on ice for certain players. And so essentially seeing like, has this player surpassed a level of time on ice that we wanted him to play at this point in the game, those kinds of things. And that'll just continually like keep innovating and changing, I think.
So like, you know, in NHL, like on Xbox or PS4 or whatever, how you have like a fatigue kind of gauge for your lines. And you can change your lines when someone's like
tired.
That's like basically building.
It's like, that's where it's going.
That's where it's going.
So do you think there'll be a point where, you know, a player is tired but doesn't know it yet, like they're 10 seconds away from being tired, and maybe like a little tap will come on the back of their helmet to like tell them to do this type thing? Like, is that where we're going?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be. And like, I mean, I think there's always going to be situations in the game where like, it doesn't matter what the data says, like Sid's going on the ice. You know what I mean? Like, there's just going to be times where that always happens and it should be that way. But I think if like, you know, the regular season's a long grind. So if you can potentially like decrease a risk of overworking a player, then I think coaches are definitely going to be willing to use that.
Do you ever see a point where this gets too much and it takes away from the game? Do you ever think about that? Or do you think that the people that are working this technology are too smart to let it affect the actual playing of the game?
I think when people start talking about data, then they think that, okay, data is now making these decisions, and that's really not how people are actually looking at the data in real life. Right. Even, you know, what the athletic trainers and strength conditioning coaches do as far as like recommending that, you know, we shouldn't work this guy that hard. It's only data. Right. So it's a conversation starter. It's not the decision maker. It's a piece of the puzzle, but there's so many other factors included. And you're right. Like, you know, once a team gets to, you know, like baseball teams always manage athletes, pitchers, throws, and stuff like that. Obviously, because it's a really long season, you want to be avoiding Tommy John. There's data that backs up, like if I'm doing this, you know, I have a better risk of Tommy John. But once you get into playoffs, that goes out the window. And then you see like, you know, David Price coming out of the bullpen. Like that those decisions are extreme in the postseason, but they're still happening during the regular season. It's not data that's driving all the different decisions. There's a human component to every decision that gets made.
And at the end of the day, the owners that are owning these professional teams, they're all billionaires, and they all want the best for their teams and for their players and to win. So you know, when they all go to Florida at the end of the year, beginning of the year, they all meet together and they talk about what's good for the league, what's not good for the league. I'm pretty sure most of these guys are going to say, yeah, I want this technology due to the fact that it's going to help my players. There's going to be no one saying no, unless it's the PA like you guys are saying.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, you know, and we talk about it just from a team performance perspective, like keeping a guy, you know, at less of a risk of getting injured. Let's just put it that way, maybe. But it's, I think, I forget where I was going with that. I lost my train of thought.
I noticed you said it's all good. First thumb. Let's watch the thing. That thing's leaning on the table. Yeah. It's all good. Cheap studio here. I noticed you said something cool about team culture. When you go to all these different organizations, you're able to determine the culture of a team.
Yeah.
Could you like name some of those features, those things that you notice when you go to these professional franchises?
It's more or less just like how compliant athletes are from team to team. So a lot of teams will do like a daily wellness questionnaire. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
What does that mean?
It's basically like every morning an athlete gets like a text or a notification to fill out their daily wellness questionnaire. And it's 5 questions. It's, you know, how did you sleep last night? All 1 to 5. Like, what's your stress? What's your mood? How's your muscle soreness? Blah, blah. Like, mark any part on your body that feels sore.
Yeah.
Right? So they do that on a daily basis. It's called subjective wellness questionnaire.
Are most teams doing this now?
Basically
Pretty much every team
like,
does it.
Like hockey, baseball, basketball.
Every sport, Olympic sport, you name it. Right?
You talk to someone, just to jump in, like you talk to some of the top guys in the performance world, and they'll tell you the same thing. Like, technology is great for telling you how hard a player might have worked in practice, but he said, you know, Sidney Crosby knows his own body better than technology does at this point. Like, he's a high level athlete for a reason, because he understands his body. So asking him subjectively, like, how hard was practice today, is probably just as useful as like seeing the data on how hard he worked in practice.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So like the compliance rate on that can vary from team to team. That's how you kind of know how much buy-in there is towards like those particular programs, or it's an indicator, I guess. So like you might have an MLB team where maybe only 40% of the guys fill that on in the morning, and then you have other teams where it's more like 85, 90%, right? And that's like 300 people. Yeah. So having like 300 people consistently every single morning fill out a questionnaire is indicative of the fact that they've communicated really well to their athletes. Like, this is why you're doing this. You know, we're giving that information back to you. We're helping you out. Right. So that's like one indicator. Also, it's also publicly available information that, like, you know, Josh Donaldson, for example, went outside of the organization for strength conditioning and like medical assistance after the season was over, which might, indicate that he wasn't necessarily bought into the program that they had at the Jays. And we don't work with the Jays as a client. Yeah. But that's just what I read on Sportsnet. Yeah. I
like the fact that, like, all three of us here, well, I guess not you two, but when we watch sports, we just see the 5 guys on the ice, the 12 guys on the field, whatever it is. I like the fact that you guys actually deal with the people that help the athletes, because even the trainers that set up the gear in the dressing room, we don't see that. All you see is Washington Pittsburgh play Wednesday night 8:00, and you just see that. It must be such a satisfying feeling when you're sitting at home here watching a game, knowing that you know what goes on behind the scenes and you kind of help towards that. Is that like a satisfying feeling towards you guys, or are you guys kind of just numb to it now? Like you've been doing it.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
so
I
long.
definitely don't take any credit for anything that's happening with any of the teams that we work with, like that I work with. But I mean, it's cool.
I think cool to see the guys that you work with on TV every once.
Yeah, you definitely.
And like people are like, "Who's that guy?" It's like, I know.
Yeah, it's like that's Billy Bob. He's dehydrated right now.
And it's also pretty sweet when you can be like, "Hey, I'm like heading to Boston. Could I grab a ticket?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And they
it's like
that's
that,
always nice too. So yeah,
that's sick.
That helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say too, just like about the even with the culture side of it too, it's like there's salary caps where you can only pay your players so much, but there's no salary cap on the staff that you can have around your players.
Interesting.
So like that's a big part of the culture, I think too, is that some of the probably richer organizations, not always, but can sometimes are able to put more people around their athletes to help them perform because there's no cap on how much they can spend there, right?
That's interesting.
So now that's not to say that, but that also gives the same way that you could look at that as an advantage for rich teams. It can be an advantage for smaller market teams as well by embracing the data, and like what Billy Bean did with the A's like back in the day, right?
He had no budget at all, so he had to work with what he had, right? And you will notice that, like especially in baseball, where there's so much more of an emphasis on keeping players healthy and making sure that rehab is going well and players are returning to play kind of on time when you aren't able to kind of buy your way out of trouble, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where sports science originated. It wasn't in North America, that's for sure. They're just catching up, right?
Yeah.
So sports science in general originated in Australia and the UK because they have leagues there where you can't buy your way out of trouble, right? You're competing on a global market for, cricket or soccer. So you have to develop your talent and you have to keep that talent healthy, right? You can't just be the Chicago Cubs and go through, a couple pitchers a season and just buy another sick pitcher to come in when that guy's kind of going for surgery, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the small market teams in the MLB will take advantage of all that data that they have access to make sure that their athletes are not overloading themselves and putting themselves at risk of injury.
You said that you only work with baseball teams, or most teams you only work with baseball. Is that a choice by you? Like, do you just personally like working with baseball teams over preferred to hockey teams?
I used to hate baseball.
So why are you with baseball teams so much?
We work with 11 MLB teams.
That's sick.
So I think it was more and they're really big organizations. So each MLB organization really has 8 teams.
Yeah.
I think it was just the way that they came on.
So it's
a lot of them
you,
were my clients, and so I ended up just focusing on that. Matt obviously focuses on the NHL, and we have people that focus on the NFL, right? So but my focus is baseball, and I really like working with baseball teams.
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, pretty much just with NHL. So we work with 16 of the NHL teams.
16?
Yeah. So, I mean, varied amounts. Like each team, we've been talking about, there's different culture at each team. So some teams use it a lot more than others. Yeah, but it's 15, 16 teams across the NHL using it. So it's I think we had 5 or something, 4 or 5 when I started. So pretty rapid growth, which is just indicative of the NHL kind of catching up to what's happening across all those other leagues that we have. So
unreal. When I ask this question, you guys try to tell me the truth. Don't lie. I have buddies that travel a lot for work, and they say when they first started, it's awesome, but then it just kind of gets old as you do it more and more. But with that being said, the buddies that I know of that travel a lot, they don't do it for sports. So I guess you guys both love sports. Do you ever get old of it, or is each trip just as exciting as the last one? Tell the truth.
depends. I mean, like, obviously travel is awesome, and you know, having a job where you can travel is a really good way of kind of like seeing places that you wouldn't go to otherwise. So you can't really complain. Like, I don't really buy it when people say it's getting old. Obviously, like, it's a grind every once in a while, but you'd way rather be traveling than not. It depends. It depends what you're going down there for. Sometimes you're going down into like a high pressure situation. Maybe you're like fighting a fire, or you're about to like, you know, trying to close a deal. Yeah. And you get like a little bit jittery or whatever, and you're not like, you're nervous, right? Yeah. But and those are like, can be tough, but everything works out in the end. Yeah. But then sometimes you have to go travel to like I don't know, Orlando or like Indianapolis. Oh, Indianapolis.
What's wrong with Indianapolis?
Oh, it's just a grind. Sorry to anybody who's from
avoid going to like Florida or Indianapolis.
Actually, I've only really been there in February. So we go to every NFL combine.
Yeah.
And they're just like big like trade shows, and those suck, right? Yeah. Where you can't, you're just stuck. You'll notice like you go to a lot of these U.S. cities, and they're all just the same. And sometimes
like the same people, same food,
just
same
look the same. Like there's always like a Jimmy John's for sandwiches around. There's not really like anything other than like chain restaurants, and you do appreciate Halifax a lot. Some cities you go to is like, holy crap, we have so much character in this town, and if any one of these people who lived in like Indianapolis came to Halifax, they'd be, you know, blown away. Right? It's a crazy city when you think about it. When you go to see a lot of the others, like just random cities you'd never go travel to Indianapolis or like San Antonio.
Like, you know what, 5 times the size of Halifax, and you're like, why do people live here?
Yeah, like, I don't spread out.
It's
strange.
Like, it's crazy. They're just plopped up in the middle of a big field, right? A lot of those Midwestern cities are like that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the traveling. I think it's the same as Callum. It kind of depends on the trip that you're doing too. Yeah. And it also, for me, it just kind of depends on the time of year, because like if I'm going on a trip in like August, September, it's kind of stressful because all of the NHL teams are getting prepped for camp. So it's,
why is that stressful?
So I'm going to do an implementation or try to sell it to somebody or whatever, a trade show, whatever I'm doing. And that's what I'm there to do, like 9 to 5 kind of hours. And then it's throughout the day that you were at the trade show, you've been getting hit up by all your teams about all this stuff that they need done. So then you're working till midnight to try to get it all finished. So, I mean, Callum can say the same thing for like MLB for sure, but like there's definitely times during the year where the hours that you're putting in are pretty significant, because like minutes matter in pro sports. Yeah. So like you're pretty much on call when they need you.
There's no such thing as a weekend.
Yeah. And there's no such thing as a weekend or an off season.
Off season. That's what people don't really understand. It's like, dude, when they stop playing games, like that's when the work starts. Like, they don't stop.
So right now, baseball season's over. What are you focused on right now?
Baseball season.
Baseball season, 100%. Baseball season's not over.
Yeah,
it's still going.
Just getting started.
It's just the other season. It's not the off season, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. It's so like, you know, sometimes you get some like pretty long days, but that generally that's just for like a portion of the year when it's really busy. But no, I think I counted. It was like, I think I did like 35,000 kilometers or something in the last like.
Do you get to collect those points, or they go back to the business?
Oh, I'm an idiot, and I didn't have an aeroplan set up. Don't even get me started on that though.
Yeah, we won't even go there.
I thought you could backtrack, and once you signed up for Airplane, like it said you could collect the points on the flights you had, but you had to have been a member. Anyways, it was,
now you know for next time.
Screwed up. Yeah.
So it's all-star break right now. So you're just chilling for the next couple days.
Yeah, like most of the teams are just like, it's like a mandatory 7-day break or something, right? So they're not like allowed to do anything. Like they can send them some strength conditioning program, but most of the boys are like hopping on a flight to Hawaii or something.
Yeah, so they're all in Vegas or some Hawaii somewhere. Yeah. You should go down to San Jose.
Yeah.
Why not? When is it? Saturday?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's this weekend.
Man, I'd go down if I were you. That'd be sick. Could you get tickets to that?
No, probably not.
Is San Jose one of the clients?
Yeah. You
don't have to say if you don't want to.
Yeah. We work with some like the teams out west, which adds to the struggle of being on the East Coast, is because they're 4 hours behind too. So the questions that they ask at 5 p.m. it's 9 o'clock here, right?
Try to explain. It's like they just don't really understand that you're
4 hours ahead.
No, they don't care.
Yeah.
Even
or they care.
They assume that you're Eastern time zone as well. But, and you can't even really know we're Atlantic time zone. It's like, what are you talking about?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, we're in Nova Scotia. No idea where that is. Can you just do this work, please? Thank you.
It's true. It's a global market, man. Like,
yeah.
If you want to be successful, you got to work with people all over the world.
Yep.
That's nuts. How many people do you guys have at Conduct? What's the staff now?
I think it's 60.
60 people?
60-ish.
60-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got
Wow.
a big development team. Like our whole, product is all technical, right? So we have a big development staff.
And I'll just give a shout out saying that, we work some long hours, like those guys put in crazy
my God.
hours. So
Yeah.
it's, they make everything work.
100%.
So the people that don't travel, what are the, like, give me some like departments at Conduct that you guys have. Like, obviously you guys are going on the road talking to these companies. Well, maybe what's another department
It's a lot like, any SaaS company, like software as a service, right? You have like, I would say like 70% of our workforce is probably on like the product side. So you have, your product managers, you have your scrum leaders, the people who manage like different teams of developers, and you've got developers who are like the brightest people in the room, right? Just banging out code and making sure that our product is advancing with the needs of our clients, right? Because it's a race.
Yeah.
Like, we're not the only ones doing this, right? We have
there's competition.
We have competitors for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to always be kind of like,
step ahead.
protecting our lunch and making sure that somebody doesn't come in with a better feature. So we have to, or the product team has to do a really good job of making sure that our product is going in the right direction, that people are, meeting timelines. So like Matt said, like, we're grinding out on the road sometimes, but these guys are, making sure that this product release is out on Tuesday and it has no bugs, because you've got 5 teams kind of waiting on this feature, right? So
Yeah. Or it's like you're releasing a new feature and our NHL teams are just about to start training camp. So it's like, if that feature didn't work, like essentially all of the NHL teams data could get screwed up, right? Like, it's pretty significant risk.
and your credibility's out the window.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
That's the biggest thing, right? So it's
all in mind of keeping like security down pat and
What does that mean? Security down pat? Like, so other people don't get this information?
there's like a variety. I mean,
Yeah.
like, we have to abide by security laws and like HIPAA and GDPR and whatnot. And you hear stories about like there was like, I think 2 seasons back in the MLB with the Astros, right?
I don't know what happened.
They had
was that the intern guy or like the guy
that was
like
the
hacked
internal
in?
guy. So there was
Yeah.
an internal guy who built this like pitching algorithm with 2 other guys in the Astros
That worked for Houston?
He worked for
Okay.
Houston. And then I think he went to another team and still had his like logins to that platform or whatever, or like they didn't like properly inactivate his account, and he was able to like go in and like he was in there for like seasons,
Yeah.
just like
No.
looking at all their stuff.
I mean, you think
He's
about
in jail.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. I mean, you think about like a breach, like Yahoo or Yahoo and a bunch of email addresses get breached, and that's front page news. It's like, imagine if that was
Yeah.
your own health data, or like or not health, but like
Yeah.
sort of performance data. Like that's that's probably more private than an email address, right? So
100%.
that's the kind of stuff that
never
we have
thought
to
of
be.
that.
Yeah, you got to be. It's
So you have people
huge.
working at home base that are protecting your software at all times.
Yeah.
Well, just making sure that nothing is introduced into the platform that could potentially break something else in the platform that
could open up a hole for
Open up a
somebody
hole,
or
yeah.
lose data somehow or whatever. So
So we have a security, like a director of security, right?
What's his name?
His name is Andrew Milne.
Shout out to Andrew, man.
Yeah.
That's a
Shout
tough
out to
job.
Andrew, yeah.
I wouldn't be
Scary
able to
job.
sleep
Oh,
if I
man.
did that job.
Yeah.
He keeps us on our toes. He's always
yeah.
sending us fake phishing emails.
yeah, trying to get us to
Is
click
he?
on. Oh yeah,
all the
yeah.
time. Yeah, I clicked on one the other day by accident. Brutal. Got fished.
Called out hard.
Yeah.
That's I like this Andrew guy. He's
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeps you guys on your toes.
Yeah.
Question for both of you. It doesn't matter who goes first. Biggest challenge you both have at Conduct? Is it with the pitch? Is it making the sale? Is it keeping up to date? Is it the long hours? Is it the travel? Like, just give me one answer. Biggest challenge and why?
It's like an interview. That's a real interview type question.
Well, if you guys don't work at Conduct, you can come work at the High Button. If this answer goes well.
Biggest challenge would be just managing client expectations, probably, honestly. So, we have to go in with pretty heavy pitches and, promise a lot of things. Not necessarily promise a lot of things, but, paint a really enticing picture for these organizations to invest, a significant amount of money into a program like Conduct. So, you know, if they're asking you timelines or like, are you able to do this or able to do that, then you have to understand the implications of just saying yes to everything, right? Because once you get that sale and
you accept the money,
lie,
and you gotta,
then you know, things go downhill pretty quickly from there, and it's a very small world too, right? So all these teams talk to each other. They're all getting hired and fired by different teams, so people are going around the, you know, the horse and pony show pretty much. So I think it's managing expectations and not like being honest, being transparent. I think that's what a lot of American companies like to do business, or notice that when they do business with Canadian companies, it is very honest and transparent, and what you see is what you get.
And probably partially the fact that we're from the East Coast too. Like I honestly think that
really
that helps us, like even just from like a customer service kind of perspective, like
friendly,
you know, friendly, hospitable, polite, you know, like we're not pushy. We're, you know, we'll tell them the truth. We're transparent.
We want to help them. We're not trying to just take their money. We legitimately have like a solution that, you know, could make their lives easier. If you're not saving somebody time or saving somebody money, then there's no point in buying anything, right? So we're trying to convey the fact that, yeah, we're going to save you time. Like we're going to, you know, make your life less stressful. You're going to have more time to work with the athletes personally, rather than like grind out on Excel sheets and download all this data and try and, you know, mash it into a report. And we're trying to save you money because, you know, less injuries, obviously, less investment goes into and like keeping those athletes healthy.
And like you know, and you're also trying to make the person that you work with, you're trying to make him look good to his boss, because essentially
everyone's got a boss.
You know, so, you know, but no, I would say like, managing expectations is definitely tough. I think like managing the expectations when you have multiple like major accounts, right? Like that's what I find difficult, is it's how do you like split up your time with each client appropriately so that each one feels like they're getting the attention that they deserve. But at the same time, you have to understand that like different clients are paying different amounts, and there's different clients that have different priority of issues in the grand scheme of things. So it's just like trying to manage, like, how do you explain to them that, hey, this might not get fixed because there's a bigger problem that we have to fix somewhere else or whatever. And that's always like a bit of a challenge. But I think, you know, as you build the relationship, it's such a relationship business because, you know,
well, everything is, if you think
everything is really, exactly. So it's like, if you can have a good relationship and these guys trust that you're not just like stringing them along, that you're like serious, that you're going to get something done when you can. And it's, you know, they're generally pretty good about it, but there's been some dicey times as well. So
there's like back in the day, man, like Travis was selling this idea to people.
Nothing was real.
There was nothing there. Like we had nothing in code, and like we'd go to, you know, X team and be like, what do you want? And then we'd go build it.
Did you guys start out locally, like with working with SMU, Saint of X, like, or did you start right away with big,
like at the top of the pyramid.
Top of the top?
How does that happen?
Travis.
So this is the thing about Travis, man. He's nuts. And the best, like, well, I think probably one of the best things about him is that like he is not afraid to fail, like at all. Like he puts himself out there, and like, and he also just puts so much faith in the people that work for him. Like the opportunities that he's given Callum and I, that like normally in your first like real gig out of university, like you wouldn't get that opportunity to go talk to the GM of the Bruins.
Can you go down?
But like, you know, he like had a one-on-one with Don Sweeney. Like that wouldn't have happened at 26 or 27 years old. Like for most people, right? Like he's just like, go do it, right? Like,
is this guy based out of Halifax? Is he living here?
Yeah. He's like one of the best salesmen you'll ever meet. His ability to pitch a vision and express his passion about, you know, his vision really is like second to none, man. You get in a room with him,
a motivating guy,
gets in the zone, it's nuts.
So he is based out of Halifax. I'd like to talk to him. Does he have time, or is he really busy?
He's a busy dude.
He's a busy dude. Yeah.
I'll come to him. He has an office down there. We can move the podcast down there. Okay. Well, that's sick, man.
We'll try and
He actually, like, kind of cool story. Like he moved to California for a little bit, like a couple of years ago, I guess.
So did I.
You did?
Yeah.
Really?
I was out there before I came here.
Yeah, so he was in Palo Alto for I think a year while we were kind of like just finished up our Series A round, and so he wanted to be out there with some of our investors a little closer to them. And he came back and he was basically just like, look, you go out there like thinking that you're going to find all the answers because that's where all the smart people are and that's where it is. And he's like, you know what? He's like, at the end of the day, like it's no different. Like he's like, it's a mindset that we have in this region that we have to get over. Like
100%.
Stop
and
being
like I said about Canadians and Americans liking the transparency that Canadians bring. One thing that you notice that it's different between American and Canadian companies is that American companies will think really, really big and they'll do it, right? Canadian companies are way more conservative. When you like are in America compared to in Canada, it's the difference is huge. So that's one thing that like Halifax needs and has. I think there's a lot of really cool companies that are doing, you know, American type philosophies where you dream really big. Like if you want to go talk to Gatorade, go talk to Gatorade, right? You don't have to start off with like, you know, Big 8 in Trenton, right? You can go to the top. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like, and you can't be afraid to fail, which is obviously has got Travis a long way, and KINDUCT with him. Yeah.
That's sick. I love everything you guys are saying.
Did you? What? Can we tell him about how he got down to CES?
Oh yeah, a little private jet action.
What happened?
Grizzly.
Private jet?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, it was just funny. Like we were sending a couple of guys of like our business development guys down to CES in Las Vegas, which is like the consumer electronics show. It's like the biggest consumer electronics show in the world.
Yeah.
And so like one of our guys went down and like flew down like you would normally fly to LA or whatever, or Vegas. And anyways, and I came into the office and Trav was there, and I was like, I thought Trav was supposed to be gone. Like he's supposed to be in CES. And he was like, yeah, no, he's jumping with Risley's private jet.
Oh, so he's like that, this guy.
No.
Well, he's not. It's Risley, like John Risley.
He's got good connections.
Yeah.
But he's a super humble dude, man.
Oh,
Is he?
Yeah, like I say that and like he would probably like hate the fact that I
Sounds like we're man crushing really hard on Travis right now.
Yeah.
Pumping his tires for the last like 30
he's the
minutes.
man though. He's the man.
Well, that's sick.
Yeah.
So what's next for you guys right now? 2019, fresh. What's on the agenda these next couple of months?
I got a vacation coming up here.
Where are you going?
I'm just going to Sunday River for a ski vacation with a big group of friends.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a big skier, so that's my winter stuff.
Florida, then Arizona, and then Indianapolis for the NFL Combine.
Nice.
Yeah, so that will be most of February, and then after that, baseball season's basically rolling. So
is that why you're going down to Florida for training camp?
Yep.
Sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where are you guys watching the Super Bowl at?
I'll be in Sunday River for it actually.
Right on.
Nice.
Yeah. Predictions?
You got to go with the GOAT.
It's tough not to.
I'm a Bills fan, so I'm really hoping for the Rams here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is just coach versus coach, and I just see an inexperienced coach versus the GOAT again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just
that's all I see.
It's hard to count the Patriots out after last last game.
You really can't bet against them. Like
It's tough.
Yeah.
Patriots a client? You don't have to say. Oh, it just went quiet in here. No way, you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Yeah. No comment, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You can probably derive
an answer.
But yeah, I mean,
Right.
a lot of these teams will prefer not to be named just because it can be a competitive advantage. It's not really that much anymore. And some teams like won't care, and other teams will say like, yeah, no, we don't want other people knowing because it's just information out there that you know it could or could not help somebody. So it's sometimes stipulated in our contracts that we can't be mentioning them in like press releases or when we're talking to other prospective clients, like we work with X team, right? So
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, we're coming up on an hour here, so
Nice.
Cool.
I appreciate you guys coming on. You kind of cleared the air. Everyone listening, now you know.
Hopefully
a little bit.
Hopefully they
Questions,
answered.
just hit us up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the last couple minutes here is it's on you guys. So if you want to say hi to family, friends, or promote something or say something, feel free.
Shout out to the program.
Shout out to High Button.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
And High Button.
But yeah, do you guys
Thanks
have
for
any
having
questions
us.
for me? You can ask something.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Jeez.
You don't have to.
Who's your next interview you got lined up? Do you know?
Maybe I can't say.
We get the deal.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if I can say.
That's all good. We'll
I can
Stay
tell you
tuned.
one guy, Gavin Tucker, the UFC fighter
Yeah.
from Halifax. He's
Oh,
coming
nice.
on. I'm not sure when.
That's cool.
But he's coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably all I can say for
Yeah.
now. But yeah, we got some good guests lined up.
You gotta keep the people guessing.
I wanted to know about the street interviews you guys do.
Yeah.
Love them.
Love
They're
it.
Unbelievable.
Actually, I can announce this now. We got, Red Bull Crashed Ice.
Yeah.
They have an event in Boston at
I was
Fenway.
going to ask if you're going to go on the road with
We
it.
got invited, so we're going up.
Nice.
That's wicked.
Me and Doodley are going to head up on the 7th to the 11th, but the event is from the 9th to the 10th. But we have a buddy that was on the podcast that plays up at Harvard.
Yeah.
So we're going to go up a good day early, watch him play.
Nice.
And then the Bruins are playing Colorado
Oh, nice.
that Sunday. And then Ryan Graves, who plays for
Yeah.
Colorado, was
Yeah,
on the
Herman.
podcast. So I'm going to message him so he
Yeah.
can get some tickets or
Cool.
figure it out.
Leave them.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's that.
And Dudes is in school right now.
He is in school. He's taking media relations.
Good
something.
for him. Shout out Dudes in school.
Shout out Dudes. That's why he's not here. He's in school. He's studying. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Cool.
All
Yeah,
right.
we're good.
All right, everyone listening, thank you very much for tuning in. I love when you tune in. More downloads, the better for us. So, High Button, make sure to go to all of our social media outlets, like, subscribe, comment, YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. I think I said YouTube already. Mess it up every time. But once again, we are out. Love you guys. Peace.